might be the most beautiful edition of the Cruel Prince series that I have ever seen, so let's take a look at it together.
You and a cup of tea, still all I ever need. Simple little things make my heart wanna sing.
The Cruel Prince is a YA series by Holly Black following Jude Duarte, a mortal girl who has grown up with her sisters in Elfhame, which is the land of the Fae. It's the story of Jude navigating the court and looking to find her place amongst the Fae alongside the contemptuous Prince Cardan. While there is a romantic subplot, the story actually hinges more on familial ties and political intrigue, so there's lots of plots and betrayals. Holly Black also did a follow-up duology, which is The Stolen Heir and The Prisoner's Throne, and that follows Jude's little brother Oak and another minor character from the Cruel Prince series, Surin, and that is set in the wider Fae world that she'd already kind of established in The Darkest Part of the Forest and Tithe and Valiant. But the Cruel Prince series, so that's the main trilogy, which includes The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing, and a collection of short stories which is called How the King of Elfhame Came to Hate Stories. That is what is included in this box set here, so you can see I've got 4 volumes just here. Now, I do most of my reading on my Kindle, as that is the most convenient for me when I'm commuting or even just reading in bed. It means I don't have to turn the light off. But when I love a book, I like to own it because it means something to me. And given that I've read this series about 3 times at this point, I was on the lookout for a beautiful set. Now, the generally available one is fine and very lovely, but I don't think it matches with the book of short stories, which I also wanted. I think they're slightly different sizes, and that frustrates me slightly. I don't think it's going to look as nice on my shelf. I could be wrong there, but they do look a little bit different online. But I was pretty close to buying it regardless when I happened across the LitJoy edition. Was it expensive? Yes. Was it sold out when I found it? Also yes. But could I bring myself to buy the standard edition once I had seen this? No. Before we get stuck into the details of this particular edition, I wanted to talk about why this story stuck with me enough to want it on my shelves. Fantasy and romantasy in particular are on the rise. I'm actually going to a talk at the South Bank Centre in a couple of weeks about the rise of romantasy. Sarah J Maas especially is big right now, and I have read her Court of Thorn and Roses series and the Throne of Glass series, both of which I enjoyed, and I thought the first book in her Crescent City trilogy was absolutely fantastic. The Emily Wilde series has also been on my TBR for a while, but you know how TBRs go, and your girl only manages like 3 to 4 books per month. But what I've noticed in Maas in particular is that the Fae in these stories are very human. And while they're powerful and they're immortal and they're inhumanly beautiful and they might have horns or wings or a tail, their behaviour, their emotions, their interactions, their motivations, it's all kind of recognisably human. And I grew up on slightly darker stories about the Fae, so I had a lot of Brian Froud books, which were illustrated by Alan Lee, and they depict the Fae as much more of another species, visually and behaviourally. So I was aware of the idea of changelings and other folkloric monsters like the Banshee, the Black Shuck, and the danger of fairy rings. So while I think someone like Maas does tick some of these boxes with her Suriel character and the Kelpie, the latter of which properly made my skin crawl, her Fae just don't really have that edge for me. Enter Holly Black. And I say enter, but she actually published her first story, Tithe, which is now part of her modern fairy tales with Valiant and Ironside in 2002. But enter her into my life. So Holly takes inspiration from older tales and uses it to write modern myths, essentially. And the world she established in those modern fairy tales, Tithe, Valiant and Ironside, of the world, the Fae world bleeding into these darker and grittier ends of US cities, is really fully fleshed out in The Cruel Prince and its sequels. So The Cruel Prince is mainly set in Elfhame, which I believe is mentioned in Scottish folklore, And the Fae in Holly's world are very much not human, which is what makes Jude and her twin sister Taryn's attempts to fit in their different ways, so much more awkward and desperate. The Fae in Holly Black's world are capricious, they are obsessive, they are vicious and cruel by nature, with just an utter disregard for the lives or the feelings of the humans in their court. And the High Court, for all its elegance and decadence, it has this undercurrent of just filth. Like, there's blood and dirt under your nails, and humans are forced to their knees by addiction to ever apples and fairy wine, with no concept of like how much time is passing out there in the human world while they're under the influence in the Fae world. And that is what makes Jude's journey through that world, and even the romance, so much more compelling and perilous and suspenseful. So that's the story of why I fell in love with these stories and the world that Holly Black created. Now let's have a look at the box set. Quick bit of info before we get stuck in. I pre-ordered this back in very early January of 2025, and I received it in early August, also 2025. So bear in mind, it did have to ship from the USA. So it was $180, which at the time was around £133, and $31.26 or £23.11 for the shipping. So a total of $211.36 or £156.11, which I thought was very reasonable all round. Once I knew this had shipped, I was tracking this like a demon. So I also filmed my live unboxing reactions. So I will show you some clips of that, along with close-ups of all the really gorgeous, gorgeous details that made this take up my mind rent-free until it was back in stock and I could get my mitts on it. Okay, I couldn't do this, like holding it, it was getting too much. So I literally have put you on my tripod so I can show you. So this will be, it's on my camera, so it'll be back to front, but it's on my phone even. She's here, I love it, look at this. Look at the gilding, look at the gilding. And there they are. Oh my goodness. I think this might be my favourite, the Wicked King. So good. They're so beautiful. I do not regret a penny. So first of all, here is the box that it comes in. So on this side, we've got this beautiful illustration with the knives and the acorns and the flowers and these little banners that say Holly Black. If we turn it on its side very gently, because I'm trying not to let all of the books fall out, we've got a list of the books that are included. So we've got The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, The Queen of Nothing, and How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories by Holly Black. Again, this beautiful gold is absolutely stunning. And then on the front of the box, we have the title of the series, The Folk of the Air, Holly Black. And can you see just the gleam on this gilding is just gorgeous. Like, I want this on a t-shirt. This is beautiful. And this is a close-up of all of the books actually in the box. And if we go all the way down to the bottom, you will see they all do actually have a little ribbon bookmark. This one's sticking out a little bit. But again, beautiful colours, the same cardstock as the outer shell and the same gilding, just beautiful. But let's take them out and have a look at all of them. So first up, we have The Cruel Prince, which has this beautiful sort of dark pine green on its cover. Lots of little sprites, oak leaves, a dagger, blusher mushroom, I would think that is. And then on this side, we've got even more of that. So again, with this beautiful gilding, which you also have on the edges. So that is The Cruel Prince. Next up, we have The Wicked King. So this is, as you can see, volume 2. This is more of a dark blue, which makes sense, as well as the illustrations. A lot of this book is set in the undersea. So that's why you've got all this like waves and mermaids and the ivy at the top there, everything gilded, gilded, gilded. And yes, of course, gilding on the edge here and then on the back. Ugh, so beautiful. So that's the Wicked King. To complete the trilogy, we have the Queen of Nothing, and then we have a snake here. If you've read it, you will know the significance of that. This is more of a charcoal black that kind of matches the box that it comes in. Really beautiful. I keep saying that, but yeah, I mean, this would make a fantastic tattoo. This is just, ugh, I love it. What I really like about them is the way it's not a solid color. They are all quite tonal. It reminds me of beautiful yarns. I'm a knitter, so I love that. But let's take a look at the last volume in this collection. This one is How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories. It's by Holly Black, but the illustrations are by Ravina Kai. And we'll take a look at this properly on the inside shortly. But again, it's beautiful. There's the tonal colouring on the outside in red this time. Beautiful gilding, beautiful illustrations. Stunning. So for the outside, they're already beautiful. But what we need to do is take a look at the inside, because what you're paying for is not just beautiful external editions. That is not all you're paying for. So every edition has beautiful end papers. So this is Prince Cardan and his friends, and you get that on the front and the back. So this is Jude and her family. I will show you the end papers in the others very shortly. They all have a digital signature by Holly Black. So this hasn't actually been signed by Holly Black, I wish, but it has got a digital signature. And throughout you have these. This is annotations by Holly Black. Again, obviously she hasn't done this by hand. These are printed in, but I absolutely love this. And when I come to read the books again, I'm going to read them in hardcover, these hardcovers, just so I can get these little insights throughout. So this is a little note from her dedication. So she dedicated it to Cassandra Clare, who was finally lured into fairyland. She is the author, if you don't know, of the Mortal Instruments. So from the time I met Cassie on, she complained about writing fairies, and so it was hilarious that she wound up writing an entire series, The Dark Artifices, that was full of them. I've actually not read any Cassandra Clare, so I can't comment on that, but I love that. And what else I love is a beautiful map. I would love a print of this for my house. This is Elfhame. These are all the islands of Elfhame. So you've got Innsmere, Innsmore, Innswil. I might have completely butchered those pronunciations, but these are the key places in the story. So you've got Locke's estate. Locke is one of Cardan's friends. The Palace of Elfhame is here. You've got the Milkwood, the Lake of Masks, Maddox's stronghold. So Maddox is Jude's father, essentially. And then you've got Hollow Hall, where Cardan lives. Ugh, I love a map. And what I really like about this is that I will be able to refer back to it. That is something you can't really do in Kindle. You can't keep flicking back to the map, unfortunately. There are beautiful illustrations throughout, just sometimes these line drawings, but I will also show you we've got some coloured drawings as well. Just the thought that has gone into just making everything look beautiful. And then again, we've got these annotations. And as I said, I can't wait to read this and read those. And they really don't skimp on the annotations. You can see that they appear every few pages. So that's fantastic. That's clearly a lot of work. I don't know how much of these were pre-existing notes that she already had that she wanted to share. But, you know, it's fantastic that we have that insight into the author. So what I'm looking for now is one of the illustrations. Oh my God, look at the detail. This is Jude, this is her twin sister Taryn. These are just beautiful illustrations. I will put the illustrator on screen because I can't remember their name, which is very bad of me. I do apologize for that, but I will put it on screen. But the detail of the illustrations is just stunning. Like, look here. Ugh, I love it. And then right in the middle, you've got a double page illustration, which I love. Too good, too good. Again, the detail. There's something about, I don't know a lot about art, I will be very honest here, but there's something about this style that does remind me of Brian Froud's style. I don't know what it is, just something about it. just gorgeous. I'm not going to show you some of the last illustrations in the Cruel Prince, just in case you haven't read it, because there are some spoilers there. But let's take a look at The Wicked King. So here are the end papers. Just, oh, look at it. Imagine having this level of talent. Like, imagine being Holly Black and being able to write like this, but imagine being someone who can draw like this. Like, this is just stunning, just beautiful. But yeah, so again, we have the end papers. We've also got the printed signature here as well. And we have the beautiful map again. There are no updates to this map. So there's still Maddox Stronghold, Lake of Masks, Hollow Hall, the Undersea. They haven't added, was this in the other one? They might have added the Mandrake Market. But let's take a look at the illustrations. Before we do, they have updated the chapter headings. As I said, book 2 has a lot of time in the Undersea, so you can see that reflected in these chapter headings, which I really, really love. And then we've got notes from Holly as well. What I really like about this is that they do them on this like really thick paper. It's much thicker than the actual paper. Which means it's just fantastic. It just feels like fantastic quality. And here is another one. I know that they were selling like a postcard set of these. I would love these. I feel like I want to frame them and put these ones up in particular in my bathroom. I think they'd be fantastic. We will take a quick look at The Queen of Nothing. The short story collection is a little bit different, so we'll just have a quick look at Queen of Nothing. I'm very wary of giving anything away. So there we go. We've got our end papers. I'm not going to dwell on those too much. We have the signature. I'm really trying not to give too much away with these illustrations, but like these double page ones are fantastic. Once again, we have an update to the chapter headings, which is very telling for the story. And I actually can't show you the final illustration because it gives too much away, in my opinion. So read it and have a look. But beautiful illustrations. But this one is a little bit different. So as I said, I really did want this, and I have read it on Kindle, and it does include the illustrations, specifically by Ravina Kai. But I didn't like how the printed version of it matched with the set, which is why I was really glad that this was part of this set. So let's take a look at how this is different. So first of all, the end papers are completely different. They aren't an illustration, they're more like of a design, and you do get that on both ends. But what is beautiful about this is that the illustrations are part of the text, which is a little bit different. The other ones had like literally standout illustrations. That is a bit different, but look. I love how they've done the title pages illustratively. I love how they include, it's like a book of fairy tales. And, you know, as you can see there, it also includes notes from the author, which I'm trying not to dwell on because of spoilers, but it feels like a fairy tale book, which I absolutely love. So yeah, that is the complete set of stories, books that is included in this really beautiful set. Like I said, it was over £100 and a little bit more for me because I had to pay for shipping to the UK, but I actually don't mind that because I just think they're worth every penny. Look how beautiful they are.
I would heartily recommend all of Holly Black's novels of Elfhame. So that includes this series, the spin-off duology, the modern fairy tales, and the darkest part of the forest. They're all kind of set in her established wider Fey world. I would also recommend her vampire novel, The Coldest Girl in Cold Town, for the same reasons. It's just got that bleak grubbiness, which I really enjoy. But I actually wouldn't recommend her adult novel, which is The Book of Night. I really couldn't get into that as much as the others that I've mentioned, and I didn't read the sequel. Obviously, do look it up. If you think it sounds like something you would enjoy, check it out, but that's my personal feeling. And I would absolutely pick up her next book, whether it's a series or a standalone. If, like me, you also enjoy that grubbier, darker fae story, I would also recommend Not Good for Maidens by Tori Bovalino, and that is a modern retelling of Christina Rossetti's Goblin Market. It is pretty gory in places, but it's very compelling. It has that same blood and dirt under the fingernails, that abattoir reek that feels so spot on for goblins and fae. And I also enjoyed her other novel, My Throat an Open Grave. What a title, by the way. Like, it did not have to go that hard. I think I read Not Good for Maidens like 2, maybe 3 years ago. I don't think it was last year, so it was definitely at least 2. And I still think about that, so I might need to get myself a nice hardback edition of that to go on my shelves and to reread, because that is a fantastic book. If you know of any fantasy stories with this kind of vibe, please let me know in the comments below, because I need more in my life. I do also love the kind of slicker, cleaner fantasies though, so also recommend those too. If you have read The Cruel Prince or any of Holly Black's stuff, if you loved The Book of Night, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Are you going to try and get your hands on this? I think you should. But that's it for today. I hope I will see you very soon. Take care. Bye.